I've always found the easiest way to grow your listenership on your podcast is to get on other people's podcasts. And so think about all the other podcasts that are going after your niche or that your niche actually listens to. And then what I would do is I would reach out to them, not to pitch them to come on their show because they get pitched all day long and it's annoying, but to ask them to come on your show and say, hey, I'd love to promote your show on my show to my audience. And then you build a relationship with them. Then I've always been the mentality, and most of the time this works, whatever you want someone to do for you, you do for them. And so most of the time, if I see a new podcast pop up and I like the show, I'll listen to it. I'll be like, oh, that was a good interview. I'd say, hey, let's come on the show and let's chat. And then we'd build a relationship. And then most of the time you'd be like, hey, you should come on my show and let's talk about this. And then what you need to have is think about on the end of a podcast, you should always have a call to action, especially if someone listened to most of your podcast. The guest or the interviewer will always say, is there anything else that if people want to reach out to you, where do they need to go? Then you could come up with your lead magnet. If someone wants to know more about getting better leads or more leads and better clients, I have this free tool that can help you out. Go to swank.com and it's an opt-in. And then you get them on your list. And then once they're on your list, then you actually, start sending them, your newsletter of your weekly show. Hey, I had this person on the show, right? Then they start listening to that. Now you took a cold audience to a warm audience. I started our podcast because of Pat Flynn, the Smart Passive Income podcast. So now you can Smart Agency Masterclass, right? So you can see where it kind of started. And I remember it took me many years to get on Pat's interview. And I was so excited, right? But I remember when you get on other people's show, this is what I messed up when I got on his show. I was trying to promote my book at the time. And so I would just, in the book, it talks about this. And I remember Aaron always going to me, you got to kind of brand things, right? So just don't say, hey, I have a podcast. Tell the podcast name several times. Even your lead magnet should be branded, right? So a lot of you might have seen my budget buster, how to get the prospect's budget 99% of the time, even if they tell you they don't have a budget, right? I branded that. So just think of those little things that are easy, especially if you have a crazy spelling of a last name like Swank. It's a little like a lot of times you'll hear me, I'll go like, make sure you get a SWENK. I'm not related to Hillary, right? Or make some kind of joke so people know about it. The other thing too, I think for distribution and getting out there, it takes time. I think it almost takes over a year, honestly. And then add one more element onto that. Just because, look, you're doing a podcast to get conversations. Or I'll do two. You should be inviting and interviewing people you want as a client on your podcast. That should be a given. But the second part to add on, if you're doing the micro content on your social media accounts, at first you're going to hardly have any followers or people following you, which is also kind of a blessing a little bit. So when you do have those 2 or 3 a week that follow you and that are your audience that you love, here's what I want you to do. I want you to reach out to them, DM them. Hey, this is Tyler. Thanks so much for following me. Tell me more about your landscaping business. And I just start a conversation. And so I just say, hey, what's the goal of your agency? What are you trying to do? Or what's your biggest challenge right now? They'll say, and then I'll say, what have you tried? I'm not trying to sell them anything. All I'm doing is getting them to answer my questions. And then as soon as I say, like, what have you tried? And they tell me a couple things, I'll be like, is this something you would like help on? And then maybe we should set up a really quick call just to see if I can help you out. And then I'm like, what's your email address? We'll set it up. And you'll get a lot of meetings that way. I hope you enjoyed this content. If you want more content like this, make sure you click on the link on the screen or check out your most popular podcast platform where the full episode is there. And until next time, have a swank day. What are you doing? Go check it out. Click on the link. I'll see you soon.